Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Warning, there are spoilers for Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse in this content. Let's go. All right, so one, I absolutely love this movie. 5 out of 5 stars. Tremendous film. I absolutely suggest that you go see this movie immediately. But what's important about Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse from a Dungeons and Dragons perspective? Well, here we go. Putting Batman in the middle of in the middle of your Dungeons and Dragons campaign. All right, so this is interesting. My favorite character by far in Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse was Miguel, Spider-Man 2099. I couldn't, like, this movie is tremendous. One of the things I loved was when they would introduce characters, if they were in comics, they would literally throw comics onto the screen, and like the comic that they came from would just plop down, right? And this is pretty astounding. Like, Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse is doing some incredible things with intellectual property, right? So Spider-Man 2099, I own Spider-Man 2099 #1. Now, actually, that thing was printed a lot, and there's a lot of them floating around, and they're not hard to, I was about to say they're not hard to get. They might be hard to get now because of the film, but there's a lot of them out there. And I actually bought mine like 20, 30 years. I think it came out around the 1999 literally Y2K situation. And so I bought mine on the shelf then, right? But I go to a lot of, like farmers markets and collector fairs and collectible conventions and things like that. And you'll see these things bouncing around, right? So, but I absolutely love Spider-Man Across the I love Spider-Man 2099. And Miguel, the way they describe him in the movie is they describe him as a vampire ninja Spider-Man, right? But which he is, right? But the reality is, in this film, 2099, Spider-Man 2099, Miguel really serves as, this guy is defending the entire multiverse, and he has an entire organization, and he leads literally 100 plus Spider-Man, all who can multiverse travel. So he's leading Spider-Punk, he's leading Peter Parker, Prime Spider-Man, who now has a child. He's leading Spider-Gwen. He's leading Spider-Woman. It looked like he was leading Rob Liefeld's Spider-Man, Scarlet Spider, right? I think that's Scarlet Spider. Absolutely astounding. Just so many, like, it's amazing how many Spider-Man were in this movie, right? So, and what they present Spider-Man 2099 in the movie as, what I really felt was happening there was, you have a Spider-Man who is Batman. When I was discussing it, after I left with the person I went to see the movie with, and I was like, that's Spider-Batman. Like, they just literally put Batman up in the middle of Spider-Man. And the person was like, yeah, I guess you're right? And I think the reason why, now, what did it take to create a Spider-Batman, right? Well, I love this movie, and my favorite part of the movie, by far more engaging than Miles Morales, was Spider-Man 2099, right? Miguel, right? This ninja vampire Spider-Man, right? Vampire ninja Spider-Man, right? And what really astounded me about this thing was Spider-Man 2099 doesn't joke. He does not make any jokes. In fact, they actually talked about it in the film and said, this is the one Spider-Man who doesn't have any levity. He never jokes, right? And that's Batman. Batman does not make jokes. Like, he's just serious as, he's the wall that everybody else is pushed off of, right? And he is just incredibly strong and capable and, like, and alarming, and one of the things, like, and so Batman is this incredible force in DC. One, he is outrageously capable. If he is set to a task, there's about a 95% chance of that task happening, right? There's just no two ways about it, right? It doesn't matter what the task is, right? The other thing is, he is so prepared that he makes everybody else just really look bad, right? And one of the the most famous example of this is that SpiderMan. There was a problem for the Justice League when Batman had his plan stolen for taking down the entire Justice League. When I think it wasn't Doc Savage. Maybe it was. I think it might have been. It wasn't Doc Savage, but there was a specific villain who stole his plans. Was it Doom? Yeah, I think that's actually the story where it happens, where a villain steals Batman's plans to defeat the Justice League, because Batman literally has a plan to defeat everyone in the Justice League, which is terrifying, right? So this is exactly the energy and exactly the capability that Spider-Man 2099 is bringing to the SpiderVerse, right? And it's incredible, right? So once you see this and you see how powerful it works, and you have this person we talk about neutrality, right? We talk about, there's good, there's evil, and there's neutral, right? The more I think about it, I really think Spider-Man 2099, I'm not sure that Batman is true neutral, but Spider-Man 2099, he looks pretty close to a villain at the end of the story. But at the beginning of the story, he looked like the most powerful hero. What he truly is neutral, right? He's going to get done whatever he needs to get done, right? And so you have this example of neutrality in Spider-Man 2099. What I thought was exciting was, it really transforms the story. So how do we do this? And actually, so let's do it this way. Should we do this in Dungeons & Dragons? So that's a complicated question, and I'll give a quick answer to it. So, it's Batman. Of course you want him in your story. He's incredible, right? And we now see that we can skin Batman. That's exactly what Spider-Man 2099 from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is. He is Spider-Batman. He's the skin of Batman, right? And so he's great in the film. Is he going to be great in a Dungeons & Dragons game, right? So here's where it lands, right? One, we have to be extremely careful. Every time we put any non-player character, which I call an entity in Dungeons & Dragons. So when we put an entity into our Dungeons & Dragons campaign, one, we have to make sure they're killable, right? And the reason why is you don't want to be that sad sack dungeon master who puts plot armor on their character, right? So if you put Batman in your game, right, you're going to want to protect him. You're going to want to make him extremely durable. You don't want him to die, right? So first of all, let's not talk about how. Let's talk about if, right? We'll get to the how in a minute, right? So basically, so should you, right? The answer is yes. You should put Batman into your game. But you got to realize your player characters are definitely going to try to kill him, right? It's going to happen, right? Because he's super powerful, and he's going to do whatever he needs to, which means he shows some evil proclivities, even though he's neutral. Which means there's a high probability one of your player characters is going to try to kill him, right? And if that happens, you have to allow that, right? The other thing is you can never have this player character. You could have him defeat. You can have your D&D Batman defeat. You can have him kill any of your player characters. You can have him defeat your player characters, but he cannot show them up. He cannot make it so that they have no ability to affect him, and all the player characters suck compared to him, right? If you bring this character into your campaign, you should be giving magic items out to your player characters immediately, right? To make sure that they can bring it. They can really bring it, all right, to this character. So if you put in Batman into your Dungeons & Dragons, so one, you should, okay? And the reason why is we just saw it in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's epic, right? And then two, how do you do it? So first of all, it doesn't have to be a wizard. It can be any class, right? And then what you do is you make sure that any powers, any Dungeons & Dragons powers that your Batman is missing happens from the Bat family, right? So you have to surround your Batman, your D&D Batman character with other player characters that are going to be able to literally do anything the array of the classic 12 characters, right? So of course you have the core 4, fighter wizard, cleric, fighter wizard, cleric rogue, right? Then you have Warlock and Sorcerer. Then you have Barbarian and Druid. And then you have Paladin and Monk, right? And drawing a blank on the last two, right? But you need to make sure that you have a Bard, right? And I already said Paladin. I think I missed one there, right? But that Batman needs to be able to do powerfully anything within all 12 of the classes, right? And you're going to do that by he's going to be surrounded by allies, exactly like SpiderMan 2099 is with Miguel, right? If he can't do it, one of his trusted allies can, right? Then the last thing is, how do you make him durable, right? You have to make sure he's killable. You really need to make sure he's killable, right? Do not put plot armor on this guy, right? Even though he's Batman, right? And the way you do that is you build him straight off the dragon template, right? Batman should not come into your D&D game. You should literally just give him a dragon template, right? And then pull off a few things that are needed to make him whatever, to make him human, right? By the way, if you bring him in, well, I guess Spider-Man was Spider-Man 2099. He should be a humanoid. He should be humanoid, right? So I would drop him down to about 180 hit points, right? But all the ability to, if you fail on a save, I just used this in my Dungeons & Dragons. I put an adult red dragon into my game, and somebody's like, I'm going to banish him. I'm like, that's nice. I simply succeed on the save, right? And so read the adult dragon stat blocks from the monster manual, and fully kit out Batman with dragon stats. That's going to make him durable. Those things were the dragon stats in the monster manual were built to last, to stay on the table, right? And if you simply read them and run them, Batman will stay upright, right? Now, if the player characters bring it, right, and they really drop him, it's absolutely critical you allow this player character to be killable, and that he does not outshine or embarrass the player characters, right? He can defeat them, he can even kill them, right? But he can't make them look useless, right? That's important, right? So every single word of that, I highly recommend. Just like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse brought Batman into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? You should definitely bring Batman into Dungeons & Dragons. Now, he's not going to be called Dungeons & Dragons. He's not going to be called Batman. He's going to have a different name. But in every single facet, it really is. It really is. You're looking at Batman, right? So so every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.